What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to another edition of the Morning View. We are here. Apologies for being just a few minutes late. The show had a question mark regarding Raphael Varane and this retirement and what have you. And just in the last literally couple of seconds, he has been confirmed. So I was just getting everything together for that because he's made a post on social media. And I wanted to make sure that we had everything all together as well, because very important to have all of the information on a very big news story. Raphael Varane, as we are going live this morning, has officially announced his retirement from football at the age of 31. So we'll be chatting about that. We'll be chatting about his time at Manchester United as well. We'll be chatting about, obviously, the Europa League begins this evening for Manchester United too, and chatting about, I guess, how important it is for Manchester United, how critical it's going to be for Manchester United this season, whether or not we're going to need it, considering top four aspirations, etc., etc. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. I can see people in the chat already getting active this morning. I can see Resilient says, good morning from Toronto. Evan says, hurry up! It's 4 a.m. and I haven't slept. I would recommend the sleep. Evan, to be honest, I'm not sure this show is going to kind of reduce the tiredness if you haven't slept and it's 4 a.m. Yeah, that might be a bit challenging. Stephanie Griffith says Fleck non-sheet, no Fleck this morning. No Flecknology, no Fleck. Although we're watching yesterday's Flex and KG show, my goodness me, the Flecknology was on another level, wasn't it? I can see Simon in the chat saying big up UV fam. Who else is in the chat here at the moment? Merrin's in there, Marion's in there, Byron's in there. As Daniel Luciano says, let's get to a quick 100 likes. Gono says, where were you? Let's get the show ready. Contrary to belief, I do not just sit down and turn this thing on and go, right, let's do a show. let's do a show. Lil Yo-Yo says, big up Owen. All elites in the chat too. Imran says, deflect order is PC. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he has ordered it just yet. Hopefully, it will indeed be coming soon. And as the poll says in the chat, be sure to click the like button if you haven't already. Let's get to a quick 100. Right. Let's talk about this Raphael Varane stuff, because this is actually a really interesting story and a surprising one. Again, if you haven't seen the news this morning, the breaking news is that Raphael Varane has indeed announced his retirement at just the age of 31. Yes, 31 years of age. Let me make sure I get his age correct. Yes, 31 years old, 32 next year. And he has announced his retirement. Now, of course, the former Manchester United defender left United at the end of the season on a free transfer. United decided not to extend his contract or use the trigger to extend his contract or what have you, aside for Italian club Como. And I think on it was his first game for the Italian club, he got injured, and it would seem because of that serious injury, he has decided to retire. So this is kind of the sort of story, this is kind of the timeline of how this all sort of happened. We can get up on the screen. So Fabrizio Romano said last night, after his recent serious injury, Raphael Varane is considering at the time to retire from professional football. He's about to terminate his contract at Como. As I mentioned, these reports came out of France late last night. After that, Fabrizio Romano once again said Raphael Varane is seriously considering to retire from football, with formal decision expected soon after his recent injury. He'd be leaving Como after signing for the Italian club in the summer. It's the same report twice from Fabrizio there. Then this morning, we got reports coming out of Italy, which of course would also make sense, saying that Varane had decided to retire from football. A decision had been made. But of course, as is the case with all kinds of stories like this, it's not confirmed until you hear it from the person themselves. And that's exactly what we have had in the last few minutes from Raphael Varane, who's posted a statement on his social media saying, quote, "They say all good things must come to an end. In my career, I've taken on many challenges, rose to occasion after occasion. Almost all of it it was supposed to be impossible. Incredible emotions, special moments, and memories that will last a lifetime. Reflecting on these moments, it is with immense pride and a feeling of fulfillment that I'm announcing my retirement from the game that we all love. I hold myself to the highest standard. I want to go out strong, not just holding on to the game. It takes a big dose of courage to listen to your heart and your instinct. Desire and needs are two different things. I have fallen and risen 1,000 times, and this time it is the moment to stop and hang my boots up with my final game winning a trophy at Wembley. I have loved fighting for myself, my clubs, my country, my teammates, and the supporters of every team I have played for, from Lens to Madrid to Manchester, and playing for our national team. I have defended every badge with everything I have and loved every minute of the journey. The game at the highest level is a thrilling experience. It tests every level of your body and your mind. The emotions we experience you cannot find anywhere else. As athletes, we are never satisfied, never accepting of success. It is our nature and what fuels us. I have no regrets. I wouldn't change a thing. I have won more than I could have ever even dreamed of. But beyond the accolades and trophies, I am proud that no matter what, I have stuck to my principles of being sincere and have tried to leave everywhere better than I found it. I hope I have made all of you proud. And so, a new life begins off the pitch. I will remain with Como, just without using my boots and shin pads, something I'm looking forward to sharing more about soon. He then concluded by saying, for now, to the supporters of every club I've played for, to my teammates, coaches and staff, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for making this journey more special than my wildest dreams could ever foresee. Thank you, football. With love, Rafa. Now, of course, look, it's very sad news that he's had to, retire at the age of 31. In today's day and age, it really is no age, isn't it, to retire at 31. And before you get into this Man United channel, so we'll talk about the Man United part of it in a second. You have to congratulate him on a phenomenal career. Raphael Varane, his last match, competitive last match he played for Manchester United, as he mentioned, he won the FA Cup at Wembley, and he was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The partnership he had with Lisandro Martinez, the fact that, last season they both, had injury struggles, of course, and they all kind of put it together for that last game of the season and were excellent. And they were unfortunate to concede at Wembley. It was a mistake really from Andre Onana that let that goal in to make it 2-1. But he was phenomenal. And the flexing that he says, the ghost, the wraith, the phantom. And I know the phrase "a Rolls Royce of a defender" gets overused so much, doesn't it? It's one of those cliche terms, isn't it? But he really was. I mean, talk about a top of the line, top quality centre back that on his day when he was fit and available, one of the best in the world. That's why he had such a successful career at Real Madrid. That's why Real Madrid, wanted him from Lens very early on. That's why Man United, that's why Sir Alex wanted him earlier on, because he was a top defender. And sometimes, you find with those players, don't you, when they come from France or wherever, early on in their career, and then they go to a big club, sometimes they don't live up to the potential. I think you would say with Raphael Varane, absolutely lived up to the potential. And you look at everything he has won in his career, near enough everything. Near enough everything. Obviously, he's part of that Real Madrid side that I know that people talk about, obviously, the Barcelona side under Guardiola as being one of the best sides of all time. But Raphael Varane is part of the Real Madrid side. It's one of the most successful, certainly European sides of all time, winning those consecutive Champions Leagues, winning all of those Champions League titles, part of the Ronaldo era. Just top quality. I mean, what more do you need to say about Raphael Varane? When you mention his name, Raphael Varane, people go, yeah, proper defender. And even when he came to United, and I suppose now you could say, because he's retired, towards the end of his career, which feels mad because he signed for us when he was, 27 or something. Coming towards the end of his career, did we see the best version of Raphael Varane? Probably not. Injuries kind of curtailed his Manchester United experience, but still, he contributed, and still, when he was available, he was our best defender because it's Raphael Varane. He's one of, now that his career's ended, when you're talking about some of the best centre-backs of all time, you'd have him in that conversation. His record holds up against anyone. top quality. And as I mentioned, despite not seeing him at his peak, because his peak would have been at Real Madrid, we still saw a very, very, very high quality version, because that's Raphael Varane. He's top quality. So it's very unfortunate to see a career ended because of injury so early on. I think from a Manchester United perspective, and this was kind of the conversation, and it feels a bit weird to have these conversations just after the guys announced his retirement. But I think that, there was a lot of conversation, wasn't there, towards the end of last season. And it was like, oh, no, because he's still our best defender, we should keep him and we should trigger that extension and we should give him the money, because he was on over £300,000 a week. And, at the time there were voices going, no, give him the money, let him stay. And ultimately, United did make the right call there. They made the right call on that one because, look, he's retired 6 months later, or a few months later, because he was really one injury away from retirement, because he knew that his body was breaking down. You could see it. And also, again, you're talking about reliability. This is a guy that had to retire at the age of 31. So, that Man United, clearly, it's very obvious now, made the right decision on that part. And I think maybe that kind of sentiment of, let's keep him was because, again, when he was available, when he was at his best, one of the best defenders in the world, or certainly was a few years prior. So, Man United absolutely made the right call on that regard. But still, it's never nice, as I mentioned, to see... It's still never nice to see anyone retire early, particularly because of injuries. But hopefully, with what he said in his statement there, he's at peace with it. He's going to continue at Como in a non-playing capacity. Again, what that's going to look like will be interesting to see. Whether he moves into coaching, whether he moves into the more executive side of things off the field. I know at Como there's quite a few ex-players behind the scenes. Of course, Cesc Fabregas is the head coach, isn't he, there, I think, as well. But there was, I don't even know if he's there anymore. I think like Dennis Wise was involved in something like that off the pitch. So he might be involved, as I mentioned, on the sort of ownership executive side of things, possibly there. But time will tell. But as a career, he's a legend. He's top defender. As I mentioned, when you're going to talk about legacies, and when you're going to talk about some of the greatest teams of all time, Raphael Varane's going to be in those. He's going to be in those conversations because, again, he's just success everywhere he's been. And even at United, I know that, when he went to United, it wasn't a successful period in terms of, league football winning top quality titles like Premier Leagues, Champions Leagues. But he still won stuff while he was at United, still won Carabao Cup, still won FA Cup. And when it came to big games, you wanted Raphael Varane to be available because in big games, in big moments, you knew that he would deliver. And you knew that if you could just get him on the pitch, then he would deliver. You didn't have to worry about, him not showing up in terms of when he started or whatever. The only worry you had Raphael Varane was just purely fitness, which is why his career's ended early. You didn't have to worry about performance level. You didn't have to worry about quality or composure or anything like that. All you had to worry about is, again, can we get him so he's on the pitch? That was the only concern. So top quality defender. Hopefully he enjoys his retirement. Hopefully, again, he's not completely done with the game. Hopefully it looks like that's going to be the case with Como. And you never know. This might be something that in 10 years' time, we're talking about, Raphael Varane as a coach maybe in the Premier League or something like that. You never know how people's careers are going to turn out. What are people saying here in the chat? Let me know your thoughts about his retirement in the chat. Let's start with the super chats and I'll go to the live chat. Red Baron with the first super chat of the morning says, will Casemiro do the same and accept the limits of his body? Both have won a lot, but one is accepting reality. What about Cassie? I like them both. Well, I think that's a difficult comparison there. Raphael Varane's career has ended because of injury. Casemiro's injury record's not actually that bad at all, really. I know he missed the last game of the season, the FA Cup, the aforementioned FA Cup final, because of what was a hamstring injury. I don't think it's a case of with Casemiro that is, he can't play football. I mean, this is the issue with Varane, isn't it? Is that he might not be able to, but he can't play football. His body's breaking down. With Casemiro, it's more of a case of he's in the natural decline of what a lot of players are, post 30. You lose a yard of pace. You're maybe not as quick and fast and tenacious as you previously was. But if you ask Casemiro, I'm sure he'd probably be like, I got a few years left in me. Whether maybe it's not competing at the highest level, Manchester United, Premier League, European football, but it might be in Saudi, or it might be in America, if that's the direction he wants to go to. Some players, to your point, go, well, if I can't compete at that level, then I don't want to do it anymore. But I don't know if that's the case of Raphael Varane. Again, this is a case of he suffered another serious injury and he's just gone, I've had too many, basically. I've had too many injuries, and I don't know if I want at this stage of my career have to come back again and what have you. So I don't know if Casemiro or anyone's going to be getting similar ideas by any stretch to retire or anything like that. What else are people saying here at the moment? Let's see what people are saying. I saw someone say in the chat earlier on, no one, here we go. Dwayne says, no one said give him the money. What is he on at Como? Probably less than Lindelof. But this stuff like that always does make me laugh, because there were people literally that were going, I'd trigger Varane's extension and get rid of Maguire and Lindelof, which you go is fine, and I get it. I get it, because people want Maguire and Lindelof to leave, but the one thing you can look at today certainly is going, well, in retrospect, Man United got that one right. They couldn't give Raphael, if they triggered his extension, and not to say that he would have retired if he was at United, you never know, but yeah, we can't pretend that wasn't the. I've noticed that quite a bit recently. No one said that. Well, they did. Now you can do the thing we were talking about, the red carpet the other day, when it's like it's one person saying something in the chat, but I vividly remember a genuine discussion of, particularly after the FA Cup final of. I think he'd already announced his retirement, leaving by that point. But in the lead up, there definitely was that conversation of, no, just trigger it and then address it next season when his contract expires or what have you. That was, and again, it was the right call by Manchester United. OJ says this conjectured fixture list is not helping him at all. Well, you know what's really interesting? It's good that you brought up that, actually, OJ too. Is that he was one of the sort of big advocates, wasn't he, towards the end of, throughout last season, actually, talking about this fixture list is getting out of hand and saying we're going to break down. And now, whether that's paid an impact on him, I don't know how many. He hasn't really played any fixtures since Wembley. I think, again, one game or something for Como, which I think was a friendly. But he is right. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but and I know that sometimes the pushback is, well, I don't care if football's on. That's good for me as a fan, as a consumer. But you look at people in City, who really cares? But City played on Sunday. They were playing yesterday in the Carabao Cup. You got people that are playing like every 2 days, every 3 days. It is mad. It is crazy. The fixture list is totally out of control, out of hand. We're playing in the Europa League tonight on a Wednesday. On a Wednesday, when that was a Thursday competition previously too. You've got the introduction of the revamped Club World Cup in the summer. You've got extra games in European competitions this year too. It's too much. And even as a consumer of the product, someone who likes watching football, maybe you might be different than I, but sometimes it's overkill. Like sometimes it's overkill in the sense of I don't want to watch football every day, all day. You remember during the pandemic, during lockdown, and it was when football was on all day because they would stretch the games out. This was after they decided to try and put Sheffield United versus Southampton behind a paywall for £30, which was a joke at the time. But if something's on all the time, every day, all day, eventually you do go, well, maybe I'll skip that one. Maybe I'll miss that one. I don't necessarily need to watch that game, or I'm not sure. And then when you do get these international breaks, which I use myself again as a consumer as a bit of a reprieve from it, and go, I can actually just sort of, decompress from football a little bit, and you get bloody Nations League on, which who gives a shit? Who cares? Like, literally, who cares about that stuff? And the players, I know they're multimillionaires, and I know that it's, boo-hoo, for that money, I would do it. But I would say also, for that money, if you were still being run into the ground every day, eventually, you'd complain too. Like, you would. You would complain too, because eventually it becomes not about the money. Your body starts to break down, and then you're in the physio room once again, and then you get criticised for being in the physio room again. You're injury prone. Well, how about you play football every 3 days and see what happens? So it is out of control. And to be honest, I saw, ironically enough, Rodri, who now is going to be out for a season because he's done his ACL or whatever, was saying that the players are going to be were considering going on strike. And I saw a bit of pushback to that at the time. And I thought, I tell you what, it's going to that, isn't it? It really, I would not be shocked if in the next 12 months or so, we see something akin to, with in Hollywood last year, there was the writer's strike, there was the actor's strike. And it would be fascinating to see what happens if the footballers, came together. And maybe it's a bit different. I suppose there is a PFA, if they came together and went, we're not doing it. We're just not. Let's see what happens. We're not playing, and we'll see what happens there. Again, I don't know if the PFA, if they're really fit for purpose, but it'll be interesting to see what happened if they just went, no, we've all decided to come together, and until you rectify this fixture list or change the rules or something, we're just not doing it. We're not. We don't care. And also, you talk about multimillionaires. They are multimillionaires. They're like, I don't need money. Let's see what happens. And those strikes, when they've happened in Hollywood, have lasted a while. They get resolved eventually. But I genuinely would not be shocked if that does happen in the next 12 to 18 months. Because either the fixture list has to change, or rules surrounding squad size and rules about how often a player can actually play, I think would have to be put into place. Because remember, you've still got specific squad sizes and the amount of players you can use on a match day, etc., etc., etc. So I wouldn't be shocked if something like that, because it's bubbling. It's been bubbling for the last couple of years, and now that the expanded fixture list is here with these extra European games, with the Club World Cup, it's there. It's there. It's getting close. What else we got here? And this is the natural response. Honestly, can't believe we're moaning about too much football. But you will. Even those people that say, more football, how can that be a bad thing? I guarantee you, if you've got football on every day of the week, in a few months' time, you go, a bit sick of football now. Every day. Or did you watch that game last night? No, it's on every day. I can't be doing with all of that, because we always do. It's like anything in life, isn't it? You can have it every day. Really? I can eat. What's your favorite food? You can have it every day. Oh, great. 3 weeks in, a bit sick of this now. A bit sick of this food. It would be the same with football. And ultimately, it's not with the footballers, and it's not with a spirit of competition in mind. It's with how can we make as much money as possible in mind. That's what it is. It's the spin, and I suppose this kind of goes on to the Europa League game that we're playing this evening, right? Playing FC Twente in the Europa League. And as I mentioned, we've got 2 extra games in this league phase of the competition, and it gets spun into, well, this is great for fans. I saw Allison say this about the Champions League last week when he was saying it's great for fans because particularly in the Champions League, you get these sort of quite glamorized earlier on. And that's what the broadcasters and the clubs want, because more people can come to stadiums, sellouts, more people watch, advertisers are happy, etc., etc., etc. But But again, it's all money based, and they spin it as, well, this is what the fans want. This is what the fans want. The fans want this. The fans want this. And you go, okay, cool. Well, yeah, you want to see Man United play the best teams, and you want to have these high profile fixtures you can watch on TV. But at the same time, then we can't necessarily moan too much when all of the players are doing their ACLs or MCLs or their knees, or they are tearing their hamstrings, or they are, tearing their calves because they're having to play every 3 days. We can't be like, I'm really shocked by that, about people's ACLs like snapping like twigs last 12 months. I wonder why. Maybe is it because football's becoming even more physically demanding, just in terms of the 90 minutes in general. The 90 minutes in general, football's, becoming more physically demanding in terms of distance covered. You've got to sprint, got to press, got to do this, how you play, this how you play. Oh, and by the way, you got to do that like twice a week, 3 times a week. Now, that's what you got to do. Sorry. Why? Fans want it, fans want it, and it is great, that you get the high profile games, don't get me wrong, but there's a cost, there's a price. I'm sure if you ask Raphael Varane, he'll talk about that, and he has extensively talked about that. So yes, when it comes to Raphael Varane, obviously fantastic career, phenomenal player, again, one of the best, no doubt about it. A shame that he's had to retire so early. And hopefully does stay in football as well. Red Barrel with the other super chat says, replace their body parts with robotic ones. Well, I'm not going to go too far. Soon it's going to be robots. It's going to be robots playing. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be robots. It's going to be AI football. We're not even going to watch a game. We'll put some goggles on, and that's what it will be. It'll be something like that. Yes, indeed. Callum says, but the footballers are the main beneficiary of the money. The wages have become ridiculous because of the money coming in from the broadcasters. Well, certainly they make more money with the broadcasters coming in, but I think when you're at that level of wealth, I'm guessing here, when you're at that level of wealth, I'm sure they probably sacrifice a fair chunk of it for health and wealthy, or, to be healthy rather. And not be laid up on a treatment table and be able to do stuff with their family, because, again, there is this sort of strange perception. There is this strange perception, I think, with people that earn a lot of money. You can't moan. You can't be moan silly. You earn millions and millions of pounds, and ultimately, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't. If you ask someone, having money or not having money can maybe help a little bit in terms of, how you're feeling, but really not too much, Some people have everything in the world. They can be the most miserable and unhappy people, So that kind of narrative of, well, you get all the money here, so you should be happy with that. I think a lot of footballers would say, if you took a game out and I got 0 for it, no paid, and it took off my pay, it wouldn't bother me. Wouldn't bother me, because again, it's not necessarily about the money. That's it's not necessarily about that. If you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well. Bottom right hand corner. Right, this evening, of course, Manchester United are playing in the Europa League. We're playing against FC Twente. We will be live for the match view for that. Of course, kickoff is 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. So I'll be live at 6 p.m. To go through all of the team news. You can see it right there. See, look, it's like I planned it. I'll be live at 6 p.m. for the pre-match, going through the team news, going through any more stories that are happening today or anything like that. KG, the comedian, will be joining me at 6:45, 7 p.m. around the time that team news comes out. Team news in the Europa League now. I always get confused with what time team news comes out, because it used to be in the Premier League an hour before kickoff. Now it's an hour and 15 before kickoff. I think European games, it's always an hour and 15 before kickoff, which means team news will be coming out around sort of 6:45-ish. I'm expecting, we did this on the preview yesterday, but I'm expecting a bit of rotation from Erik ten Hag. It's always difficult to predict with Erik, particularly in these sort of European games. In the first season of the Europa League, it was quite interesting, wasn't it? Because I remember, I think our first home game in the Europa League under Ten Hag, unless I'm mistaken, was against Real Sociedad when we lost, I think. whether there was a penalty given against Leacher, and it was really, really harsh. He sort of, if I remember, he slid in, and the ball came up off his thigh and hit his hand, like here, and they gave it as a penalty, and David Silva scores. I think that was the first Europa League game. And he rotated a bit for that game, and then after that, he's like, I'm not going to really rotate anymore. And and then played a strong side. So I wouldn't be totally shocked if Erik ten Hag doesn't rotate massively. We do have a big game at the weekend, don't we? And playing Spurs at Old Trafford. So, and when we rotated, 7 or 8 changes against Barnsley, it was still a strong side. We've got players back since then, so you'd probably look for, maybe you might see a start for Rasmus Højlund, you might see a start for Mason Mount. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Bruno Fernandes this evening. Of course, he didn't start against Barnsley. I think he starts this evening. You can let me know what you think in the chat. I think Bruno starts, and I think Bruno might be in the similar situation to Marcus Rashford last week against Barnsley, where I think he starts and it's like he's got a score to try and get him into form, to try and get Bruno going. Because what we can't have on Sunday against Spurs is what we had last week against Palace, in the sense of every time Bruno Fernandes gets the ball, he gives it away. We just cannot do that. Because I do agree with what people are saying. As good as we were in the first half against Palace, and we were, that's some of the best football Manchester United have played in a while. And we absolutely deserve to be 3 or 4 up. But in football, you don't necessarily get always what you deserve. You have to put the ball in the back of the net. You have to take control of your own destiny, don't you? But we played really good stuff. But also, Palace were not great in the first half. That's why Oliver Glasner changed things at half-time, because he realised what he was trying to do wasn't working. So against Spurs, obviously know they're going to be better than Palace. So when you get those chances, you've got to take them away. You've got to, put the ball in the back of the net. If you do get an opportunity to kill the game off, you have to do that. And also, you can't, with some of the Spurs players and how quick they could be on the counter attack, can't afford to have Bruno constantly giving the ball away. Because that period that I posted it on Twitter, I think it's been taken down now, but where he gave the ball away like 3 times in 30 seconds. You notice each time he gave the ball away, United have to win it back immediately. Otherwise, they're in. they're in with a counter-attack. And fortunately, all of his teammates kind of bailed him out. But against better players, you might not get an opportunity to do that. So circling back to tonight, I wouldn't be shocked if Bruno does start, because, again, I think it's almost the Rashford principle, where it's like, see if he can get some goals, play him into form. FC Twente, they've actually started the season fairly well. Where are they in the Eredivisie? I think they're 4th. I think they're 4th in the Eredivisie. I was checking yesterday. 4th in the Eredivisie. Last few games haven't necessarily. I think they haven't won their last 3. I think in the league. Couple of draws. Is it? Oh no, they have won their last 3. So they didn't start the season very well, rather. Excuse me. But actually, they're unbeaten in the last 1, 2, 3. Unbeaten in their last 3 games. It's Erik ten Hag's boyhood club, and he spoke about his connection to the club in the press conference yesterday as well. And I'm already waiting for this evening that if we don't get a win, it's he threw the game. Through the game, because he loves the club so much. He doesn't want to hurt what he loves, so he's thrown the game, and Man United haven't won. Manchester United should win the game. I say comfortably. It's European football. You never know. But Manchester United at home, Old Trafford. Put it this way: if it was other top clubs in the Premier League, you wouldn't even have nerves, would you? You'd be like, oh yeah, they'll beat them comfortably. It shouldn't be any different for Manchester United. It shouldn't be an issue. In terms of the rotation, I think you probably have Onana in goal. Fullbacks are going to be the same. Fullback's going to be the same because we've got no one else. I know he played Toby Collier left back against Barnsley. I know we won the game 7-0. I say you get away with that against Barnsley. But at points, it didn't in that game. Collier still struggled. Still struggled at left back in that game because he's not a left back. And we don't have any other left backs. So it's going to be Dalot and Mazraoui. Centre backs, you're probably going to, I think, see Harry Maguire probably come in for De Ligt. Maybe he plays Maguire and Leacher. Maybe he plays Maguire and Evans. Maybe that's what he goes with. I don't think Lindelof will come in just yet. Only just come back into training. Midfield, I would probably expect actually Casemiro and Ugarte again. They started together, didn't they, last week against Barnsley? So I probably expect them to start again. I mean, that was a surprise, wasn't it? The weekend after that start against Barnsley, everyone thought he was going to be playing against Palace, and when he didn't, that was very, very surprising. But then if I'm saying Bruno's going to start in the 10, that means maybe Eriksen doesn't start. And then does that mean... Let me know in the chat, by the way. Let me know in the chat. With Christian Eriksen playing the last few games, and he's played well, he's played well. Not in the sense of, he's back, long-term option or whatever, but the fact that Christian Eriksen is playing well, would you start Christian Eriksen against Spurs on Sunday? Let me know in the chat, and I'll read some of the comments out. Well, let me know the reason. Well, let me know if you would, and why. And why you would. I say probably doesn't start tonight because he's played what? Talking about player overload, he's played, was it 3 games in the space of a week, which is a lot for Eriksen, which is a lot. So if he did start tonight, then I'd be looking at it going, there's no way he starts against Spurs. No way at all. If he doesn't, it's possible. I think it's possible. And I think with the Ange Postecoglou high line, sometimes you do want those players that can pick out the pass, put the ball over the top, play it through the middle, out to the wide players. I wouldn't be shocked if he started. At the weekend. We have to almost get over this shock of every time Christian Eriksen does start, actually, don't we? Because every time he's started, in the last 3 games when he has started, every time it happens, we go, I can't believe that. I can't believe he's starting. And I know that obviously the natural response is no legs, but as we've seen, if you can control the game, you don't necessarily need it. Spurs might be a different one because obviously they will try and control the game, to control the football, but they also will try to press. So you do have to be somewhat press resistant and comfortable on the ball as well, don't you? So maybe that's why Eriksen. If Eriksen starts tonight, he's not starting the weekend. But again, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked. Again, obviously the natural reaction is our legs. But if you've got, as we saw against Crystal Palace, where we completely, particularly in the first half, completely controlled the game, then you're not worried really about the gaps in midfield or what have you, are you? Because you've got control of the game. So perhaps, maybe. And then obviously, like I said, I do think Bruno starts tonight because I think Erik ten Hag will want to. I think Erik ten Hag will want to get him into form. Rashford, well, it'd be surprising if he'd been benched for 2 games, wouldn't it? It'd be surprising if he'd been benched for 2 games. I think Rashford probably starts this evening. It would be very strange for someone that you're talking about playing into form, gets into a bit of form in comparison to what he's been in for the last 2 years, which is basically scored in a couple of games, and then gets put on the bench for a few games. That would be quite surprising. So I think Rashford probably starts. And also, when he came on at the weekend, I don't want to go in too hard because, sometimes you do come off the bench and have no impact, but Rashford came on and I don't know, did he touch the ball when he came on against Crystal Palace? He looked like a player that wasn't very happy that he got benched because he kind of just walked around a little bit for 30 minutes or whatever time he came on. It was not great. So I expect Rashford to start tonight. Right-hand side, I know Antony started against Barnsley. Do I think he'd do that again? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he might go with Ahmad or something still, because I do think that because of this league phase of the competition of the Europa League, you'll want to get off to a good start. Granted, again, now it's a bit different, and it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see who masters, but like this format differently. Because obviously there was, when it was the group stage, a 4-team group, there was a bit of like the method of just win your home games, anything else you should be fine. With now how it's going to work out, I don't know how it's going to work out. They're saying with how this thing is formatted, you might only have to win a couple of games, right? You might only have to win a couple of games, and to go out of the competition, you're gonna essentially have to lose everything, aren't you? Because even if you don't automatically qualify in the top 8, then you go into that playoff round, don't you? So to find yourself out of the Europa League or Champions League or the Conference League in the league phase, something really, really bad has to happen, which I don't think is going to happen for Manchester United. So maybe because of that, clubs will take it a bit less. So they'll go, it doesn't really matter. We'll go through. It doesn't really matter. Or maybe they do everything they can to avoid the extra couple of games. Maybe that's what they do too. Super chat from Red Baron says, the new players we brought in like Xerxes are about control, whereas Rashford and Bruno are more chaotic. Maybe Erik ten Hag will shift the chaos out slowly. I mean, I mentioned this on Monday with the red carpet, and Red Baron also says all Bruno needs to do is keep the ball more. I mentioned this on Monday on the morning show and the red carpet. I do think the technical level of the team has risen, and I think you see that with when you do play fullbacks like Mazraoui and Dalot, and you have them inverting, and they're much more comfortable on the ball. I mean, this isn't a slam on Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but those that were like, oh no, Wan-Bissaka, he can invert and he can do this and he can do what Erik ten Hag wants. You see Mazraoui play, it's this different level, a different level of. Again, and this is when this goes back to, that's not even necessarily a slam on Wan-Bissaka. Just different types of players, different qualities. You say Mazraoui is just far more comfortable on the ball. Far more comfortable on the ball. Can left foot, right foot, inverted, and defensively, it probably actually does us a service to his defensive ability. Defensively, he's good too. But just totally comfortable. You don't have to worry. Like as a United fan, sometimes when a player receives the ball at his feet and they've got players closing in, and as a fan, you go, like, because you know what's going to happen. Like, you know what's going to happen. They're going to go, they're going to give the ball away, or they're going to struggle in that situation. With Mazraoui, you don't even have to worry when the ball's at his feet. You know he's going to be comfortable. You know he's going to be calm. You know the pass, 9 times out of 10, is going to go to the right player, or he's going to get himself out of trouble. It's not an issue. It's just not a problem. So that level of technical ability has risen in the team. And I think it does. I think it maybe does highlight, to your point, Red Baron, I think it does highlight other players who don't necessarily have that level of composure or that level of technical ability. Now, that's not to say that the whole team has to be completely filled with technical style players. You can have 1 or 2 mavericks in there. That's fine, as long as they pick their moments. Whereas the problem is with Bruno is he doesn't know how to. He doesn't know how to pick his moments. Or even like a Rashford sometimes, he doesn't know how to pick his moments. He just knows how to run, cut inside, go down the blind alleys, or try and just, sheer brute force, go past players. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes when he does that, it works positively, like it did against Barnsley. It bounces off someone, Garnacho puts the ball in the back of the net, get a goal. Sometimes there is a place for brute force. But against some teams, brute force isn't really. They want you to use brute force. They don't want you to use technical ability. And what we saw in the first half against Palace was, if you've got that level of technical ability, control, and the word composure. That's why, you look at someone like Christian Eriksen. That's why he has, I think, stood out in the last couple of games. Is because, as much as, he's not the Christian Eriksen of 5-6 years ago, and as much as, again, legs in midfield or what have you, he is one of a few players still in this Man United side, or squad rather, that has legitimate composure on the ball. Of, if he gets the ball at his feet, he actually properly scans. If he's going to pass the ball, more often than not, it will go to the player's feet, not behind them, not ahead of them. And he can find the gaps between the lines, and he can play the through pass that maybe other people can't. And sometimes with Bruno, when he'll get on the ball, sometimes he does do that, but sometimes he'll just try the 1% of, it's probably not going to pay off. If it does, it looks great. If it doesn't, there might be a counter-attack on. They might go up the other end and score. That's a problem. Especially, again, if you've got this play style where you're committing so many people forward, and you're going to give the ball away in stupid areas, the counter-attack's going to be on. It nearly happened to us a few times against Palace because of that. So, yeah, with people like Mazraoui in the team, with people like Joshua Zirkzee in the team, who's a much better, I think, again, you're looking at different types of strikers. He's much, much different to Rasmus Højlund. Much different to Højlund in the sense of, again, his link-up play is very, very good. I mean, Højlund can hold up the ball, but it's largely hold up the ball, back to goal, wrestling with the fullback, and maybe an overemphasis on the wrestling. Whereas Joshua Zirkzee's a more give and go, 1 or 2 touch, like the assist he should have got for the Bruno chance in the second half. That's his more link-up style play. And I think with that in the team, then you need to have a conversation with like a Bruno Fernandes and say, pick your moments. Okay, sometimes try the through ball, sure, because you need a bit of, a little bit of creativity and quality sometimes to create those chances. Not all the time. Not all the time. It doesn't have to be that. For the love of God, not every second pass has to be with the outside of your foot, or every shot has to be with the outside of your foot. You don't need to do that. You can, again, stay calm, stay composed. And when you're playing counter-attacking football, you need that because it needs to be one touch, crossfield passes, or one touch, dink over the top, do something quick. They haven't settled. They haven't set just yet. So there is a style for that. And maybe that's why Bruno was so successful when we were playing proper quick counter-attacking football, because it has to be one touch, creative, improvised, essentially. But when you've got a lot of the ball, 60+% possession, and you're looking for small gaps, or you're looking for neat and tidy link-up play, you can't have that kind of chaotic ball over the top, ball out wide, switch, outside the boot quickly. Like, you just can't, it doesn't really fit. Sirens in the chat. So, I think that's the thing with Bruno. And whether or not he can adapt, I don't know. John says, should like this channel hate Bruno, I could stop watching because of the hate. And this is also the thing. When we've had this, when we have discussions about any players, isn't it? It's always, so you hate them. So you hate them. So now it becomes, so you hate Bruno. Or when it's Rashford, so you hate Rashford. Or so you hate Andre Onana. Or so you hate, pick a player, Pick a player. If you criticize them, it means you hate them. And I do think we have to kind of get away from that kind of erratic. Again, how many times have we had this conversation? There is a line between criticism and like abuse and going too far, right? Of course, there is a line with that, but we also can't be afraid of. Because I saw this after the game at the weekend of going, Bruno had a bad game at the weekend. And it was like, see, this is the problem. You're turning on players. You hate players. You're this, you're that, blah, 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 blah. You can say Bruno had a bad game. That's not blasphemy. That you're allowed to say that because he did. He did have a bad game. The last season with Marcus Rashford, you can go, he didn't have a good season. Because he did. He did not have a good season. It was like last season with Erik ten Hag, wasn't it? We weren't getting results. So pressure was on him. It was just like, so you can go, this is not good for Erik ten Hag. This is the thing. I can't believe you can't say that. And it's like, well, I get it. I'm all for sort of blind faith and support. I think as Man United fans, we do that every weekend, don't we? we do it every weekend. We're going to win this weekend. Do you think so? Who knows? But this whole thing of you can't criticize players, or you can't criticize the manager. You can't criticize substitutions. You can't criticize tactics. You can't criticize anything like that. Well, what can you do then as being a fan? What can you do? It's otherwise you're like that dog meme where he sat at the table and everything's on fire. This is great. This is fantastic. You have to be very, very careful with it. So, yeah, Bruno. But that's why I think Bruno starts tonight. If he gets goals and gets assists, then that takes the temperature down a little bit, doesn't it? Takes the temperature down a little bit. Don't mean he's back or anything like that. It just means, again, can quiet all of that down. So yeah, it's not, and I hope that would be the case. I hope United win. All the time. So yeah, it's what it is, isn't it? I think most United fans, maybe not all, but most United fans do genuinely want United to win, and I think that's probably where it comes from, isn't it? So that's what it is. Where are we at? We've got over 900 people watching. We're currently at 355 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button. Let's see if we can get it to 400 likes. Just finally, before we do wrap things up, predictions for this evening as well. Prediction for this evening, what did I go with? Is it 2-0? I think 2-0 or 3-0 win, which maybe might be... I do feel this. We were talking about this Monday too, weren't we? Is that I do have concerns about just moving forward where the goal's going to come from, which seems kind of wild because we won 7-0 last week. But I do have some concerns just about who's going to be that player that's like 15 goals, 20 goals for us this season. I'm not too sure. But I do think with the chances that we are creating, goals will come. They will. With just the sheer volume of chances we create, they will come. Does anyone else have this as well? When you do win a game 7-0, and maybe this is the old like Football Manager in me, right? Football Manager, LMA Manager back in the day. What a game that was. If you've never played it, get like an old school PS2 console. LMA Manager, tremendous. When you win a game like 7-0, I go, does that mean all the goals are dried up for the next game? We've used them up. We've used up our goals. we've used them up. Well, we're going to draw the next game 0-0. We're going to lose because then we've scored too many goals. We should have saved some for the weekend. Stupid superstitious stuff all the time. But I think 2-0, and again, I do think that if we keep creating chances like that, they will. We'll score goals. What are people saying here in the chat? 3-0. Chatterboy Comics is going for 3-0 as well. Kenny Fan TV is going for 2. Red Baron says 2-0 XG is getting better. Chris says 5-2. Look at that. Hamza goes with 2-0. Alias says 2-2 draw. Shogun with a 2-1. Amir says we're going to win. Or Leak says Alabama Manager, Yeah. I mean, for all of the people today, that play Football Manager, and look, I play Football Manager, so big fan. I still don't think they have been able to surpass like a proper console Football Manager game that is LMA Manager. I mean, now because Football Manager's, laptop, computer, what have you, the ones on the phone are shit or anything like that. But I mean, PlayStation 2, LMA Manager, they have not been able to surpass it. I don't know why. They stopped making it. LMA Manager 2007, Codemasters just went. They lied. We're putting it on pause, hiatus. We're gonna improve it. It just never came back. It never came back after 2007. Never. It just went. Oh, we're gonna pause it for a little bit. It's still on pause at the moment. Heartbreak. It was such a good game. And again, it's console game. It just, so good. And they never brought it back. If anyone from Codemasters is watching, I don't even know how they would do it, actually. I don't even know how they would bring it back. I don't know who has the rights to it. Is it still does Codemasters still exist? I don't even know who has the rights to Alabama Manager. Start a petition. Bring it back. If they want to sell, what's that new PS5 thing? PS5, they've all got new names. Slim, Ultra, something. If they want to sell that, bring out Alabama Manager. That'll get it back. That'll sell some copies. Or Xbox, I think now are doing shit, aren't they? So if Xbox are doing rubbish, Get Anime Manager back. Make it an exclusive to Xbox. You might actually sell some consoles. That's what it will be. Although Anime Manager, the last one, 2007, was on Xbox 360, and it wasn't the same as it was on PS2. PS2 was better. The actual match play, the graphics, it's almost like they got too high quality. They got too high quality on 360, and then it wasn't as good. It was better on PS2 than it was on. And the reason I point is because I've got, as you would have seen on my my wrestling channel, I've got a load of old wrestling games. So I had to buy a PS2 and an Xbox 360. So I got both. So if they brought Anime Manager back, they'd do that. I was also thinking, I'm well off the rails at this point. I was also thinking, because the other day I was reminiscing. About Simpsons Hit and Run. Also, one of the greatest games of all time. If you're going to talk about greatest games of all time, Simpsons Hit and Run, it's one of the best. It's well up there in terms of greatest games. And I wanted to play it. And I thought, there's got to be a place that I can do that. There's got to be a place that I can play that game and stream that game, but I don't know where. So if anyone's got any suggestions on where that could be, or any interest of where that could be, you can let me know. You can let me know. I was thinking of maybe setting up a Twitch or just a separate channel or something like that, but I don't know again what that would look like. Maybe because I've got the equipment. Like I said, it's not the case of the game. It's just actually what channel I would play it on or something like that. So maybe a Twitch, maybe a separate channel. Owen plays video games. Yeah, something like that. Owen plays games, maybe. So maybe that will come. If it does, yeah, we will. I'll launch it and we'll play Simpsons Hit and Run. That's what we'll do. Red Baron the super chat says emulate. I don't need one. I've got the real thing. Don't need to emulate anything. Yeah, got the real thing right over there. That's how we play. That's how I've played all the old SmackDown games on my channel, and it's no quality loss or anything like that. It's perfect. So yeah, I just need to set everything else up for that. I.e. a channel or a Twitch. I'd prefer to do it on YouTube, to be honest. I would prefer to do it on YouTube. I can't be bothered to do a Twitch. But we're massively off the rails now. There you go, guys. What a show. what a fast hour. So yes, a reminder though, there is going to be a match for you this evening. Match for you this evening is going to be obviously Manchester United versus FC Twente. And it's going to be KG, that comedian, Mr. That Comedian, and myself. We'll be watching the game, hopefully in real time, now that KG's got that all sorted, no more delays. But then we are going to be watching Spurs at the weekend, and knowing KG, there might be a few delays. But we shall see. We will cross that bridge once we get to it. So big up. Appreciate everyone getting involved. Appreciate everyone in the chat. And I will see you later on for the match view. I'm out of here. Peace.